A process that every office will have to navigate at the beginning of every year is the insurance renewal process. So that's the process when patients get new insurance for the year, and you need to account for that in CareHD. So what do? You'll have two places in CareHD where you can see that a policy has expired and needs to be cloned or renewed. If you search for a patient's name or you click on their name on an appointment on the calendar, it'll pull up their patient snapshot. Here you will see a message that says no valid insurance policy exists. Please review. This is indicating that they have an insurance policy that has expired, and so we either need to review and clone the information, the insurance policy, or we need to clear the warning. The field that is triggering that message to appear, either on the patient snapshot that there is no longer a valid policy, or for that patient to show on the insurance renewal list, is this coverage end date. When that end date has hit, then the system sees that the insurance policy has expired, and that will trigger that patient to hit the insurance renewal system. It will not trigger until this final date has passed. So technically, I have to wait for December 31st to pass because the patient technically still has coverage on that last date. So as of midnight of this end date, the patient will be flagged on that insurance renewal list and have that warning message pop up on their patient snapshot. There may be some offices that simply remove the coverage end date. We do not recommend this workflow as it will not trigger that insurance renewal process, since this is the field that triggers that warning. If you leave this blank, it indicates to the system that it's like an ongoing endless policy. Technically, that is not correct because a policy does have a start and end date every year. You just may renew it each year, but that policy does have a start and end date every year. So just keep in mind, if you're an office that is leaving the coverage end date blank, it is up to you to make sure you are on top of finding which policies you need to re-verify and reset up, because if you remove this field, it will not trigger that insurance renewal process. I would review and clone if the patient is using the same insurance for the new year, and I would clear warning if they're not using the same insurance or if they are no longer using insurance at all. I'm going to go into those steps in a second. The second place you'll see this information is on the Utilities tab, Insurance Renewal. This is a list of everyone that has a policy that has expired. And again, we either need to clone the information or clear the warning because maybe they're no longer using insurance in the new year. I'm going to go back to the example in the patient snapshot and click Review. So what does clone mean? Clone means I'm simply going to copy over the insurance policy information that was in the case and reset it for the new year. Here I can see a breakdown of the patient's name. This would be a patient's name. I just have mine as a test subject and I called him Insurance Renewal just to make it easy. Here we see the case type and the name of the policy. Here we see a breakdown of the effective and expiration date of the policy. So again, clear warning is to be used if the patient is no longer going to use any kind of insurance in the new year, or maybe if they have a different insurance policy, different insurance company, and you want to put in that information freely versus cloning what was already there. So what does the concept of cloning mean? If we click on the clone button, it will automatically pull over this top policy information that was in the case prior. So it's the insurance information that expired. We'll pull over the insurance company name, if it was listed as a primary, secondary insurance, and then we will automatically convert these three fields. We will change coverage start date, renews on date, coverage end date. We will pull over the information for the current year that you were cloning the policy for. So the prior year, the policy that expired, was set for January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. So when we clone that information, we set it for you to January 1st, 2024, the current year that I'm performing the action, and December 31st, 2024. The reason why we set the year of the start and end date as the current year that you're performing the action is because you can't clone the information until that new year. That's when you finally get the patient's insurance card and you're able to do a benefits check. And so it's for that current year that you're setting the policy for. So that's why we set the start and end date. The renews on date will simply copy the start date of the policy because that's the date that the policy starts and renews every year. We will pull over any member ID, group ID, plan identifier, and prior authorization number and notes box that was in the policy prior to doing the cloning. Again, this is with the purpose that the patient is using the same insurance plan that they had prior. But you have to pay attention and see if any of these numbers changed. There are times a patient's member ID number or group ID could change. They may still have Aetna from year to year, but what if their member ID changed? You need to make sure you are updating the information based on the patient's insurance card and the eligibility check that you did. You don't always want to assume the information stayed the same. So please refer back to the patient's new insurance card for that year and the new insurance benefits check that you did for that year. We will also clone over the relationship to insured that was on the policy prior. We will not clone over any of the patient responsibility fields. The reason why we don't clone over that information is because it changes year to year. So you need to make sure you're performing an insurance eligibility check to see what the patient's responsibility is for that year and input the information. Once I have verified all the information is correct and put in the new information, like if the patient has a remaining deductible, then I'm going to hit save. It will take me back to the list of other patients that need to be cloned, so I can just cancel out if I'm not ready to do so. And if I go into the patient's case and then click insurance coverage, I will see that it created a new policy for the new year. Again, you can go to utilities, insurance renewal, and see a list of any patients that have policies that have been expired, and you need to either clone or clear the warning. So the insurance renewal process is something that you will face at the beginning of every year if you take insurance, and you need to just copy over the patient's insurance policy in a quick and effective way.